Today I'll be reacting to how strong is the US military in 2024? My friends, that's a great question. But before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. Is the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, well, in that case, you already know. Forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration now. Link for the original video in my description and let's play it.
There are 195 recognized countries in the world doing their best to navigate the unforgiving arena of global geopolitics. However, only one country among them has been unrivaled as the world's supreme military power for...
Okay, any guesses about that specific country, my friends? No idea? Wait, what? Zimbabwe? No, another guess. Mongolia? Could be that, yeah.
years, the United States. And that's why it shouldn't be surprising that this military titan might be ranked as the #1 military power once again in 2024. To be fair,
my friends, you probably feel so proud every time you see this type of stuff, and you should. I mean, at the end of the day, America is #1.
Quantifying military power is a tricky endeavor, as the
and to be honest, America have puts a lot of effort into this type of stuff, and the people that are in the military are real heroes.
Numbers don't always tell the whole story.
You should be
However,
proud.
the U.S.'s dominance extends far beyond mere statistics, encompassing cutting-edge technological innovation, logistical prowess, and unparalleled operational capabilities that cement its status as the world's preeminent military force. So in this video, we will play the numbers game, but we'll also look at what those numbers represent. Regarding the numbers, we'll primarily consult Global Firepower's Military Strength Rankings, an annual report that comprehensively assesses military capabilities worldwide. For 2024, Global Firepower, or GFP for short, evaluated 145 countries across 60 individual factors to determine each nation's military strength. Some of these factors are troop numbers, military equipment, and financial stability. Again, accurately ranking military power involves more than just numbers. For instance, one country might possess a large tank fleet filled with outdated or poorly maintained vehicles.
I love the Russia flag right there. André, aren't you Russian? No, I'm not. I'm Portuguese. I find amazing every opportunity I have to make this clear, because a lot of you guys think I'm Russian for some reason. But come on, they did Russia, a bit dirty on this one.
While another may have a smaller fleet, composed of modern, well-maintained tanks equipped with advanced technology. However, while the exact GFP ranking might be off for a few countries, the data is accurate primarily from official sources. So without further ado, let's dive into the state of the US military in 2024 to understand why this country commands the respect and the fear of nations around the globe. First, let's talk about money.
Okay, wait a second. Do you guys think this video is actually very interesting because do you guys think because of all the conflicts going around in the world that maybe China and Russia will be a bit closer to America? Maybe, right? But on the other hand, I also can see America spending even more. So this, I'm actually really curious.
After all, no country can maintain military dominance without substantial financial investment. And when it comes to the U.S.'s annual defense spending budget, calling it a substantial financial investment might just be the understatement of the century.
What?
Why? The defense budget the U.S. Congress approved for 2024 is a staggering $886 billion, roughly 3.3% of the country's gross domestic product, or GDP.
Wow.
Though this number is insanely impressive in and of itself, it becomes mind-blowing when you consider how much other nations are spending on defense. The number
$886 billion. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. I'm gonna guess China at this point this year. I'm gonna go with 400, half of America.
Number 2 nation, China, plans to spend $236.1 billion on defenses in 2024, a notable 7.2% leap from the previous year. This increase is even higher with the
200. Which Russia is even less. 150.
Third-ranked nation, Russia, which intends to spend around $109 billion on national defense, approximately 30% more than in 2023. As monumental as the difference between the U.S.'s military budget and the ones from the second and third
So both together cannot compete? That's crazy.
ranking countries, it's also important to note that the US probably won't see any significant increases in defense spending anytime soon. You see, the increase in the US military budget was capped at 1% in 2023 thanks to a 2-year budget deal. But even after those 2 years pass, financial experts don't see significant changes in the US's military budget for at least 2 more years. Afterward, the experts estimate that the budget could gradually rise to $922 billion in 2035. But let's
900. Holy sweet potato. That's crazy.
go back to the present for now. What is the US spending?
You know, just give me $1 billion. Imagine spending 921 instead of 922. No difference for America and for me. Holy moly.
Its military budget on. Though this budget must cover numerous aspects of a standing fighting force, 4 areas might be the most crucial: operation and maintenance, research and development of weapons and equipment, procurement of weapons and systems, and military personnel. Speaking of military personnel, number-wise, how strong is the US military in 2024? Let's start with the total available military manpower. This figure refers to the total number of people a nation could mobilize in the event of a war, be it offensive or defensive in nature. Remember that this number can only be estimated and represents a rough picture of the potential force size, not an exact count. According to GFP estimates, the US could commit almost 150 million people to its war effort, roughly 44% of its total population. Though this figure is
No chance that's correct. Guys, you may go to war. What? Isn't America like 300 million people? What? Oh, did I understood this correct actually?
exact count. According to GFP estimates, the US could commit almost 150 million people to its war effort, roughly 44% of its total population.
Oh my god, I lose all my viewers if that stuff... Oh no. Okay, sorry.
This figure is undoubtedly impressive. It isn't the highest in the world. Of course, this shouldn't be surprising, as the US
China
isn't the most populous country in the world. That title belongs to India, closely followed by China, with each country having more than 1.4 billion people. With this discrepancy,
that's a crazy number. Also, I cannot even. My country have 10 million people. Yeah.
in population in mind, it's perfectly understandable that India and China rank better in terms of total manpower, both being able to commit over 650 million people to their respective war efforts. A similar situation can be seen in the number of people fit for military service. As the name suggests, these are the able-bodied people who could theoretically fight or participate in material production during a long-running war campaign. The US roughly has 124 million troops, while India and China can offer 4 to 5 times more. But let's move away from potential scenarios.
4 to 5 times? That's a huge difference, actually.
How many active duty personnel does the US have in 2024? In other words, how many soldiers are currently engaged in full-time military work and could be ready to fight for the nation at any given moment? The answer is approximately 1.3 million highly trained individuals. Though this figure
very good number, I feel like 1.3 million, very good number. Oh, China number 1 again.
places the US in the top 3 countries in the world, it's important to note that the number of active duty personnel has been declining for quite some time. That's why the current figures are far from the most recent peak of over 2 million active duty soldiers in 1987. But what about reserve personnel? Unfortunately, this isn't where the US shines in the 2024 military power ranking. But before delving into the details, let's explain the difference between active and reserve duty. Think of it this way. Active duty is a full-time job, while reserve duty can be compared to a part-time job. Reservists are considered an optional military component and are basically on call for service at any given moment.
But they get paid if they are in reserve.
The US has almost 800,000 of these reservists as part of its military force in 2024. The figure is nowhere near Vietnam's 5 million reservists, which occupies the #1 position globally. It's also significantly lower than 3 other nations in the top 5 in the military power ranking of 2024. South Korea, with over 3 million reservists, Russia with approximately 2 million, and India with roughly 1.15 million reserve duty personnel.
South Korea
the
is
only
going
other country
crazy.
in the top 5 with fewer reservists is China, which has 500,000. There are two ways to look at this number, one more positive and the other quite the opposite. On one hand, the relatively low number of reservists in the U.S. could be attributed to the country's reliance on a well-established active duty force and sophisticated military technology. On the other hand, the number of U.S. reservists could be related to how overused the military component is. As things currently stand, some reservists are expected to provide daily support to global military operations, essentially changing the very nature of this military element. This could have something to do with fewer people deciding to join the military as a reservist. But speaking of joining the military, which options do individuals have when considering enlistment in the U.S. military? The United States Armed Forces collectively manages three major service branches: the U.S. Army, the U.S. Air Force, and the U.S. Navy. In addition to the three main military branches, the U.S. has three other notable military divisions: the U.S. Marine Corps, the U.S. Space Force, and the U.S. Coast Guard. 5 of these branches are managed by the Department of Defense. The U.S. Coast Guard is the only exception, falling under the responsibility of the Department of Homeland Security. But what exactly are these departments managing in 2024? Let's find out. First, let's get the numbers out of the way. Number 1 is the Army, the largest and oldest service in the U.S., with roughly 452,000 active duty soldiers. This is the smallest total the Army has been since 1940, a year before the U.S. joined World War II. In second place, we have the Navy, the U.S.'s forward deployed force. In 2024, this branch had approximately 347,000 active duty sailors. As with the Army, the U.S. generally isn't satisfied with the number, as it falls short of desired readiness levels and strategic objectives. Third.
Okay, I had no idea about this, my friends. So the numbers are going down. Even if you guys are spending more, but there is not a lot of people engaging with the military at young age, I assume. Why is that? I wonder what's going on. I don't know what to think about this actually. This is very, very interesting. My friends, leave me a like if you enjoy this type of videos because I love to react to this type of stuff.
Ranking branch is the Air Force, closely following the Navy with approximately 324,000 active duty personnel. The Department of Defense describes the Air Force as having rapid, flexible, and lethal air and space capability.
Oh, they are amazing.
Next up, the Marine Corps, a component of the Department of the Navy, which accounts for about 172,000 of the U.S.'s active duty personnel. This just leaves us with one more Department of Defense controlled branch, the U.S. Space Force. Due to the unique nature of this branch, it shouldn't be surprising that it's by far the smallest, encompassing only about 9,400 active personnel. It also makes it the smallest branch in the U.S. military in general, as the Department of Homeland Security managed Coast Guard has 41,700 active duty service members. However, the number of military personnel in each branch is just one aspect of their military might. The other, arguably even more important aspect, is the equipment and technology they possess. In this regard, we'll focus on 3 areas of attack. Let's look at
okay, now things are about to get really good.
U.S. land, air power, and naval power. We'll start with the U.S.'s might on the ground. Though it took some time, the U.S. ground forces have finally started departing from the Cold War era thinking focused on containment. Slowly but surely, these forces are becoming significantly more agile and adaptable, reflecting the requirements of the modern battlefield. For this endeavor, the U.S. ground forces primarily rely on combat tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, artillery, and multiple launch rocket systems. So let's break down the U.S.'s capabilities in these departments. When it comes to tanks, the M1 Abrams continues to lead the way, making up for a good portion of the country's 4,657 tanks. This figure makes the U.S. the NATO country with the highest number of tanks. However, the same cannot be said for the world, as this position belongs to Russia, which has over 14,000 tanks.
Holy, yeah, Russia have a lot of tanks, but seems like they are a bit old, right?
While Russia's main battle tank, the T-72, is far inferior to the U.S.'s Abrams tanks, the same cannot be said for the T-14 Armata, which was designed to rival and even surpass its Western counterparts' capabilities. Regarding infantry fighting vehicles, the widely respected M2 Bradley remains a cornerstone of the U.S. ground forces, providing formidable firepower and mobility. However, we mustn't forget about the Stryker armored vehicles that have allowed the U.S. ground forces to cover a myriad of battlefield roles with as many as 10 variants of this Canadian-made vehicle. So it's no
Canadian?
wonder that some 10% of all U.S. infantry fighting vehicles are Stryker armored vehicles. These include 1,789 M1126 infantry carrier vehicles or ICVs, 545 M1127 reconnaissance vehicles or RVs, 441 M1129 mortar carriers MCs, 348 M1130 commanders vehicles or CVs, 304 M1133 medical evacuation vehicles or MEVs. The remainder of some 360,000 frontline, second line, and support vehicles are mostly wheeled types designed for urban fighting based on experiences in Afghanistan and Iraq. This impressive figure also makes
Okay, wait a second. So I believe America is pretty great on the ground, but I think things are about to get crazy when we take a look at you know, the Navy and the Air Force, because that's where I believe America is completely obliterating the competition. But on the ground, it could be close, I feel like, no?
the U.S. the
At
number
least seems like Russia is really good here.
one country in the world in terms of infantry fighting vehicles, as they
Sorry for pausing again, but on the ground, it seems like all the style of war, no? You know what I mean? It seems a bit outdated. Nowadays, things are. Nowadays, if there is a World War III, I believe will be like Star Wars, drones and stuff. Yeah.
possess more than double these vehicles compared to the next countries on the list, China and Russia. Unfortunately, the U.S. artillery systems don't showcase the same superiority. Here we'll look at two artillery systems, self-propelled and towed. Both these systems have a pretty self-explanatory name. The former can move independently on tracks or wheels, while the latter requires a separate vehicle to position it on the battlefield.
What?
The U.S. operates an equal number of both these systems. It has almost 1,600 self-propelled guns, and almost all of them are M109 Paladin tracked vehicles. As for their towed counterparts, there are about 1,267 of them used by the U.S. military. Roughly 820 of those are the M777 howitzer-class systems operated by the Army and Marine Corps. This just leaves us with multiple launch rocket systems. These systems aim to provide rapid and widespread firepower against ground targets, typically using rockets or missiles launched from a mobile platform. The U.S. ground forces operate almost 700 of these handy systems, with the M142 HIMARS launcher making up more than a quarter of the total number. Now, it's time to take flight. How does the U.S. rank in terms of air power in 2024?
Yeah, tell me.
The answer is simple. In the air, the U.S. is second to none.
I knew it.
With over 13,000 service-available airframes, the U.S. maintains the world's most formidable air force with a diverse
My
fleet.
friends, if you are American, you should be so proud of the American Air Force because it's so amazing. Leave a like if you agree. If you disagree, you also have to leave a like because America is number one. It is what it is.
Of aircraft. So let's inspect this fleet in more detail. The U.S. Air Force is one of the few services worldwide that operates a dedicated bomber fleet with aircraft capable of both conventional and nuclear attacks. The standout bomber aircraft in this fleet include the B-1B Lancer as the backbone of the U.S.'s long-range bomber force. The Air Force operates
Wait until you guys see the B2. Wait.
39 of those high-level bombers, which can carry the highest payload of
Alien
75,000 pounds. The B-2 Spirit, it's a multi-role bomber capable of carrying
big.
both conventional and nuclear warheads. Due to a high per-unit cost, only 21 of these aircraft are in the U.S. fleet, but the amount of
Okay, sorry for pausing again, but no matter, and this is a cartoon, but no, every time I see the design of this bomber, you know, it's crazy. Who thought about this? The person got some type of award, right? Because this is see, and you guys probably laughed when I said the next World War will be like Star Wars. Tell me this could not be some type of plane on Star Wars. Of course it could be. Yeah.
firepower these units bring more than makes up for their modest number. The B-52 Stratofortress is a long-range heavy bomber that can fly at high subsonic speeds at altitudes of up to 50,000 feet. The U.S. force has used these bombers since the 1950s and operates 72
amazing.
units. Next up, the U.S. Air Force's fighter aircraft fleet. These aircraft remain the frontline defenders for the U.S. Air Force, which operates as many as 1,854. Let's list the most notable among them. The F-15 Eagle is an all-weather, extremely maneuverable tactical fighter,
What?
represented by over 500.
The F-15. Okay, now I'm a bit lost. I thought the F-22 Raptor was the best one. Wait, what? The F-15, I also reacted to that one also, but I thought the F-22 is the best of the best. And yeah, I'm still thinking about the B-2 bomber for some reason. That stuff is so crazy. Maybe for you guys it's normal at this point, but every time I think about the B-2 bomber, makes me believe in aliens, you know, because that's a spaceship 100%.
54. Let's list the most notable among them. The F-15 Eagle is an all-weather, extremely maneuverable tactical fighter, represented by over 500 units. The F-16 Fighting Falcon is a compact multi-role fighter that's relatively low cost. That last factor explains why the Air Force operates 775 of these fighters, the most of any model. The F-22 Raptor is a supersonic all-weather stealth fighter that can perform both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. The Air Force has 177 of these premier aircraft. The F-35A Lightning II, the U.S. Air Force's latest fifth-generation fighter, accounts for 300.
Wait, but the F-35 is not better than the F-22, right? I feel like even if this is fifth generation, I still believe America best, best jet is the F-22. I could be wrong, of course, what I know, but I react to this type of stuff, so I have an idea at least.
110 units. Though these aircraft might be the first you think of, the U.S. Air Force fleet doesn't solely consist of aircraft designed to engage in combat or intercept other aircraft. It also includes aircraft designed for various other crucial missions, such as refueling, transport, and reconnaissance. Here are some of the more notable aircraft fulfilling these roles. First,
wait, they should also mention the A-10 Warthog, because that's a beast.
up, tanker aircraft designed to extend the operational range of other aircraft. The U.S. Air Force has over 2,600 of these valuable aircraft, including the following: 388 KC-135 Stratotanker aerial refueling tankers, 61 KC-46A Pegasus aerial refueling and strategic military transport aircraft, 40 KC-10 Extender advanced tanker and cargo aircraft. As for transport aircraft, the U.S. Air Force operates over 950 units of the most diverse design, with the C-17 Globemaster III as the primary hauler with 228 units. Interestingly, this fleet also includes limited numbers of special aircraft designed to transport VIP individuals, such as U.S. leaders and high-ranking government and Department of Defense officials. So, for instance, there's only one C-20 and 4 C-32 aircraft. When it comes to reconnaissance, the following aircraft play a significant role: 13 MC-12W Liberty medium to low altitude twin-engine turboprop aircraft, 14 E-8C Joint Stars Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar Systems, and 26 U-2S Dragon Lady subsonic high-altitude spy planes.
What?
Finally, two more notable pieces of equipment to cover: helicopters and unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs. The former category includes approximately 5,737 units, which are instrumental to the U.S. military. Due to their flexibility and tactical usefulness, these helicopters can be deployed to various missions, including search and rescue, medical evacuation, and special operations support. However, these rotorcraft units can also attack. The U.S. owns about 1,000 dedicated attack helicopters that can provide on-call fire support for ground forces, neutralize armored vehicles, or counter dug-in enemy force elements. Lastly, unmanned aerial vehicles. This is another area where the U.S.
This stuff is crazy, the drone stuff, you know what I mean? Because this is where I think America probably already has such crazy drones that we may not even be aware, but if things go really bad, the world will be aware.
Absolutely demolishes any competition. The country's armed services operates one of the largest UAV forces, with over 16,000 units. These drones are primarily intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance types, or ISR, but direct attack units are also included. Now that we covered the US's land and air power, let's dive into and explore the strength of the US naval forces in 2024. By now, you probably
Things are about to get crazy again. Number one for America.
won't be surprised to learn that these forces also beat out potential competitors by a considerable margin. Sure, with 472 vessels, the US might not have the largest fleet in terms of size. However, the US Navy boasts unmatched technological sophistication and operational capabilities, ensuring dominance in both traditional and asymmetric maritime warfare scenarios. The US Navy also dominates the number game in areas where it matters the most on the sea: carriers. The US currently has 11 carrier ships, which is more than all the other countries in the world combined.
Okay, the first time I reacted, and you can find that video on my channel, to an aircraft carrier, that America owns. I don't remember the name of the aircraft carrier, but that stuff was billions of dollars, and it was so crazy. And this is. And aircraft carriers are so important, that America can defeat the entire world alone. I really believe that.
To be
Of course, I'm not them, and with all the atomic stuff, nuclear, things can get really bad to everyone. I know that, but I still would bet money on America.
fair, 10 of these are the Nimitz-class nuclear-powered carriers that still utilize Cold War technologies to some extent. Still, they remain formidable assets, complemented by the newer, more advanced Gerald R. Ford-class supercarrier, which promises to take the U.S. military's naval capabilities to new heights. The U.S. is
that was the one I reacted to.
also number one in the helicopter carrier department with 9 impressive warships. Even though these warships are smaller and less expensive to procure, other notable military forces are yet to keep up. Japan has the most helicopter carriers after the US, with only 4. But let's turn up the dramatics and discuss the more aggressive vessels in the Navy's fleet. And what better way to start than with destroyers? Destroyers are advanced multi-role vessels equipped with various sensory equipment, processing systems, and weaponry to counter threats from the air, the surface, and under the surface. These ships can operate independently of the main fleet when hunting enemy targets, often completing their missions with unbelievable precision. With all these characteristics in mind, you probably won't be surprised to hear destroyers are rather costly to procure and operate. That's why only a dozen countries in the world own destroyers, most of them operating only a few of these powerful vessels. Of course, the same can't be
Wow, is really that expensive? I mean, makes a lot of sense, right?
said for the US, which owns as many as 75 destroyer-type ships, the most in the world. Among those
75,
destroyers,
wow.
2 classes are represented: the Arleigh Burke class with 73 destroyers and the Zumwalt class with 2. Now let's peek under the surface. There you'll find an impressive fleet of attack submarines, combining Cold War relics with more modern and advanced entries. The first category is filled with vessels like the 26 Los Angeles class, 18 Ohio class, and 3 Seawolf class attack submarines.
What they put? Okay, this is a city, but Hawaii. Where is the Texas class?
The second boasts 24 Virginia-class submarines that are gradually replacing their older counterparts. Now, while we have to go underwater to view this display of naval might, it's important to know that these submarines can also conduct land attacks, some of them even through nuclear means. And don't get fooled by the name attack submarines, as these vessels can also be used for reconnaissance or to provide support during special forces operations. There are aspects of the naval fleet where the US isn't the leading military force in the world. In fact, the US doesn't even rank in the top 10 in some of them. But if you know anything about the country's determination, you know that this won't last for long.
But I need examples of that.
Take frigates, for example. Currently, the US has 0 of these multi-role general-purpose vessels, which places it at the bottom of the 145 countries ranked by global firepower. Though keep in mind that the US rarely uses frigates anymore. However, other powerful countries like Russia and China haven't followed suit. So the US is getting back into the frigate game. The construction started in August 2022 after a 35-year break, and the USS Constellation, the lead class of these vessels, should enter service around 2026. Other areas where the US Navy currently falls short are, number 1, the Corvette-type vessels, which are very similar to frigates. Currently, the Navy operates 23 of these small vessels, which is almost 4 times less than the first-ranking country, Russia. Number 2. The mine and counter-mine warfare ships that lay down or neutralize minefields in strategic waters. As of 2024, the Navy owns 8 of these vessels, a far cry from the 47 owned by the same country that owns the most corvettes, Russia. Finally, there's number 3, the Merchant Marine Force. During wartime, these vessels transport soldiers, supplies, and vehicles. The U.S. owns around 1,800 merchant vessels, so it doesn't even manage to crack the top 10 leading maritime nations. Still, these very few items in no way detract from the extraordinary military might that the U.S. possesses. By now, you should understand why this nation has consistently been ranked number 1 regarding overall military power and capability. All of this boils down to one vital question.
Well, friends, I'm not American, but I feel proud.
How will the U.S. use its military might in 2024? There's a whole barrage of ongoing military operations that either involve the U.S. directly or through international organizations like the United Nations, the UN, the European
Just don't leave NATO, by the way.
Union, EU,
Please.
or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Here's a quick overview of the operations involving the U.S. in chronological order. Since 2004, the U.S. has been deploying drone strikes against Islamist militant groups in the war in northwest Pakistan. Since 2010, the same destiny has befallen Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, and ISIS positions in Yemen, resulting from the effort to combat the Al-Qaeda insurgency in the country. In 2011, U.S. troops were sent to Uganda as advisors to assist in the fight against the Lord's Resistance Army, or the LRA, and its leader, Joseph Kony. In 2014, the U.S. started interventions in Iraq and Syria, aiming to combat the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or ISIS. In 2021, the U.S. continued its intervention in Somalia by conducting airstrikes on al-Shabaab militants. In 2023, Operation Prosperity Guardian was launched in order to counter the threat by Houthi forces in the Red Sea. Besides conducting specific operations, the U.S. troops are always stationed across different continents to maintain regional stability, provide security assistance to partner nations, conduct
So the proxy wars are something that America engages a lot, and makes sense since there is so many bases, you know.
joint training exercises, or deter potential adversaries. So, as of 2024, the U.S. has over 100,000 service members in Europe, 30,000 throughout the Middle East, 375,000 in the Indo-Pacific region. From these numbers and the ongoing military operations, it's easy to conclude where the U.S. stands on most matters in terms of foreign policy. For instance, Europe received another 20,000 American soldiers after the Russo-Ukrainian War began in 2022 to enhance its military capabilities. Similarly, the sheer number of troops in the Indo-Pacific region makes it clear that the U.S. prioritizes the so-called free and open Indo-Pacific strategy, which aims to uphold international norms and principles in the face of increasing assertiveness from countries like China. Did any of this information surprise you, for better or worse? Do you see any countries surpassing the U.S. as the global military power anytime soon? Share your opinions in the comments section below. Then check out What If USA Launched a Nuclear Bomb Minute by Minute? Or
What? Should I watch that? Oh man, I won't watch this. What if USA launched a nuclear bomb? Oh my god. You know what? If you end up watching until the end, and if you want me to react to this one, leave me the number 18. Please. Oh, this could be a lot of fun. Okay, but let's refocus. So the thing with this video I thought was quite amazing. Great explanation about the different sides of the American military, and about the number one spot. I think is no chance. I mean, America is number one, but I think number 2, 3, 4 that can change. You know, because I was reading the other day that India is getting really strong. So maybe India could be stronger than China or Russia now with the war maybe ramping up could pass China or something. I don't know, but number one, untouchable, you know. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this with me, my friends. Really means a lot that you guys end up staying until the end. See you guys in the next one.